错，对，我们线上的观众久等了，谢谢。啊，我们今天是因为有2场演讲，那舒馆长刚才为我们报告了他的热贡唐卡型非常精彩的讲座啊，所以我们今天第2场讲座就有点延后啊，向线上的观众抱歉，谢谢你们，谢谢你们的耐心。好，那我们第2场讲座呢，我们硅谷亚洲艺术中心最近我们在举办一个非常特别的展览，是江山如画辽宁省博物馆藏中国古代山水画的一个体验展啊，很多朋友都到我们现场来看了这个体验展。体验展的意思呢，是我们这次展出的都是辽宁省博物馆的重磅藏品，从宋代到五代，应该说从五代到晚清啊。山水画的复制高清复制品，因为这些画的原件现在已经没有办法出国了啊，都不能出国展览啊，国宝级的不能出国展览，并且其实在国内也很少这些原件也很少展出，所以即使是在国内的观众，其实也很少有机会能够去看到这些作品的原件。那我们这次展出的高清复制品可以说是给我们湾区的硅谷的观众带来了一次非常特别的体验啊，是非常难得的。那接下来呢，我们跟辽宁博物馆会长期合作，所以除了这次手炮我们是山水画，接下来我们也会有花鸟人物等等题材的体验展。所以希望现场和线上的观众，我们的文艺爱好者继续来关注我们这个系列的展览。好，那我们今天呢，请到了很多的专家学者，请他们来谈一谈这场体验展。好，我们首先有请高教授。高木森教授高教授来简单，对，简略的，对。
你用英文讲也可以，
对，用英文讲也可以，高教授，对，好，艺术史家高木森教授，有请。
Okay, all visitors, thank you for your coming, and it is very good the opportunity for us to enjoy the wonderful collection of the Liaoning Museum. Especially this time, the exhibition is the landscape. The landscape in China developed very early from the end of the Han Dynasty and then reached their first very good period in the Tang Dynasty. And then, of course, continue to the Song, Yuan, Ming, Qing. This dynasties has a lot of great products. So very good kind of painters. And in this exhibition, we can enjoy the collection from the works of the Five Dynasty, the Dongyuan painting, all the way to the almost the end of the Qing Dynasty. So altogether, about 1,000 years. So this is a very special, wonderful, and valuable experience for us. And we have this opportunity, especially to enjoy the landscapes of the different styles. And last week, I gave the lecture to introduce the different periods, different styles of the landscapes. But this time, because the time is very short, so I will not give the details of the development. But I would just suggest you to, if you have chance, to look at this exhibition, and as I know, and because this exhibition is the duplicate from the original works, and this is because the print is very wonderful, so almost like the original. When I look at it, I said, oh, this looks like original. Of course, but I tell you, if you want to see whether this is the original or duplicate, you have to use your hand to touch the paper, or see what if you feel have the kind of different. But of course, I would not suggest you to touch it here. Just I said in the future, if you have friends or someone bring the duplicated works to show you whether this is the original or the duplicate, you use your hand to touch it. You know it. Okay, so but this time the exhibition looks like a real. So you can really enjoy and see the difference of the different periods. And from today's exhibition here, I just suggest to you that most of this the works here, 5 dynasty we have 1. And the Song Dynasty, we have only 4 or 5, so very, very few. Yuan Dynasty, no. Ming Dynasty has some. The most of this you see Qing Dynasty. So you will see that the sort of the classical style of the Chinese literati paintings of the Qing Dynasty. So you can see the brushwork is very, very smooth, and you can feel the wonderful kind of atmospheres here. So, well, because the time limited, so I just give a very short introduction. So I hope you can enjoy it. Thank you very much. Any question?
I wonder where some of this collection came from. From the Imperial collection. Is that correct? Where did this collection originate?
I think this Mr. Su would be able to give you the answers. Yeah, because he familiar with the Liaoning collection. Yeah, like I work in the National Palace Museum in Taipei. I know all where they from, but not the Liaoning. Okay, maybe you can. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Most of them are from Puyi's collection. Yes, nowadays, Liaoning Provincial Museum's collection. Yes. Okay. So next, let's welcome an artist, Yu Chunming, Professor Yu Chunming, please. Welcome. 于老师。
谢谢大家。这次这山水画展确实是给我们一个很好的机会，能够比较高水平的展现中国山水的一个风貌哈。我是画油画的，所以我来美国是40多岁然后我就在想，我把中国的东西都丢掉，我就没有我了。可是如果我把中国的东西一拿出来画的话，还是没有我，那是中国的。所以我们来以后就是想着把中国的东西跟西方的东西怎么揉在一起。我们学的东西全是中国的文化的一个根基在我们的骨子里面，可这个根基的东西如何揉成一种绘画的语言，这是一个问题。那么我们先要知道中国的绘画语言，中国的绘画语言这里展现的就是，那我们看到有2个阶段，第一个阶段是，就我只说山水哈， 宋代。宋代是把中国山水推向高峰的一个阶段。这个阶段呢，在中国的山水里面呢，它是以天为主的，以自然为主的，它是要仿自然的。可是，在自然里面呢，它要揉进自己对大自然的一种感受。你像那个范宽的那个《西山行》里，那你看那种像那个背一个很雄壮很高大的那个山，那个大山底下一个小的那种情节，那种感觉，我们总会使我们感觉得到一些我们在真的山水里面的那种崇敬的心态，我们对山水对大自然的一种崇敬感。可是到了元以后，可以说是从赵幕府开始吧，书法入画。书法入画也是中国的传统，因为只有中国才是一个书画合一的，而且一直延续的这样的一个文化的一个绘画的国家。它在古代的时候，就是远古的时候的岩画是刻线的，可是西方很多地方的岩画，像那个比如拉斯科洞穴的岩画，它是有面的，有面有颜色，甚至有光的。中国没有，从来没有。然后这种以书法的线为主要的绘画，它是从书写入手，一直延续到绘画这种话题，一直到现在。那么真正的在宋代的时候呢，那个是有一点点就是说受西方影响，因为唐代以前是一个开放的社会。那么到后面呢，因为宋代的时候，当然高老师讲了很多的原因，那不管，反正就又回到这个以书法为主的一个绘画的状态。我现在收藏中国陶瓷，明代的中国陶瓷是写出来的那个青花色，到了清代，到受西方的影响，它开始渲染了。那是瓷器上面的那个颜色都是用中锋去写的，它不是渲染的。渲染是从崇祯开始的，万历晚期才有一点点。所以这种精神，这是中国文化的精神。那我们可以怎么去体现呢？体现的就是一个宋代的时候是天，那么元以后是人，那么天人合一。那合一到我们这一辈子的时候，怎么去合？我跟邱振中关系特别好，他老是在听他讲的，这个东西怎么，书法上这一块又突破了多少多少。你突破的再多，在我画画的看起来就那么一点点，但是在这个文化的里面，在书法的里面，你看的就特别大。那我们把这些东西拿到全世界来，你说里面的线条感觉怎么样？有点突破前缘，到西方来以后，老外看你都一个样子。人家看你亚洲人都一个样子，不要说你那点线条感觉是不是一个样子。所以这里面如何去突破，如何去把中国文化通过我们身在外国嘛，我们没有办法，我们必须要这样做，也不是说什么大话，什么把中国文化推向世界，那个话不要去说，就是说我们只有这些东西，怎么样让人家接受你，让我能把画卖了，就这么回事呀。那这点看起来的话呢，我是这样看哈，有两点。第一点，宋人山水是可以走的，但是呢，很可惜，疫情以后 ，AI 出来了以后，现在大家都不知道怎么画。你走宋人山水这条路，加上光，加上感觉，画一点现代书法什么的，现代绘画什么。有很多人在宣纸上玩过，我对宣纸始终没兴趣，因为我买过很多宣纸，我也画过，宣纸拿毛笔一画就那个样子，所以我还是画油画，我一大堆宣纸还丢在家里面，所以那个感觉你就跑不掉，跑不掉的话，再怎么画你也没什么用，所以呢， 我还是那句话，宋人山水可以玩。那么宋人山水里面从哪一边玩？可以从奇幻玩，可以从西方的神秘主义玩，可以从宗教玩等等都可以，因为它里面都有，它里面都有。那这个是个人的事情哈，这个是第一。第二呢，赵孟頫以后的书法入画，到目前为止，我有些朋友也写过，绘画，中国的山水画，中国的绘画对精神方面，对你的精神寄托，对你的身心健康，甚至治病，都有人写过。我们原来，我们原来在伦敦搞过一次那个中国山水画的研讨会，我就推荐过我一个朋友，他就是写中国山水如何治疗疾病啊。这个我觉得呢，现在在 AI 的这个感觉，最近这几年我都去看那个艺博会啊，看各个，反正觉得我不是很乐观的啊。但是我觉得这个中国的绘画的这一条路啊，可以去推广。从哪方面推广呢？不是从绘画上去推广，是从有利于身心健康、有利于人对线条感觉的、对绘画感觉的一种体验这个角度去推广。我觉得对今后来讲，人的体验比什么都重要啊。那么在这种体验的关系里面，你绘画、油画的那种体验的过程，远不如中国画的体验过程。中国画你笔墨每一笔没有重复的，没有重复一样的感觉。我们不谈艺术史，什么都不谈，就谈对个人的一种生命的体验、生活的体验。那你在这个角度上来看，中国画是比任何一个绘画感觉都好。你那个画油画、画那种细密画啊等等，无论哪一个民族，他们那种画的关系，那就是画就是画。可是中国画画好像有一点跟做气功一样，全身心的投入，然后一下一个上午就过去了。当然，中国绘画里面那些传统的属于历史感觉的那些笔法，你可以不 care。对，我曾经第一次我到欧洲各个地方转了以后，我回去跟一个朋友讨论这个线条问题。我说我看过柯利的线条，我也看过毕卡索的线条，看过米罗他们的线条，他线条感觉不比中国画的线条有那个差，那个力度感非常好。那我说中国绘画的线条的力度的关系，什么力透纸背啊，到底它好，它重点在哪里？后来讨论了半天，重点在历史感，这就很悲惨了。你重点在中国的一种历史感，这是八大的线条，那个是那个是谁的线条？这个就很惨，人家根本不 care， 不在乎你这个。所以这个线条的这种绘画感觉，你在于个人的体验，我觉得这一点很有意思。你只要强调你的个人体验，说不定你在绘画的线感，在中国的写意绘画上面就有突破了。你不干嘛一定要去香水的线条，而且体验最重要。我们现在所以也是现在大环境也不太好，然后绘画也牵涉到一个出路问题，所以我们都是比较重视体验。行，我就杂七杂八说一下。
谢谢啊。那我就勉为其难的为于老师做一下简单的翻译。So what Professor Yu said is like basically there are two stages of Chinese landscape painting. One is in the Song Dynasty, it was centered on nature, so and infused with human emotions. But as times went by, in Yuan Dynasty, Chinese landscape painting became centered on humanity. and focused on the relationship between man and the human. Okay, and so where shall we go as an artist in the nowadays? Professor Yu said you can play with the elements of like Song Dynasty landscape, but it's like maybe it's important in history, but the essence of art in the future will lie in the personal experience of life. It's a very personal thing. So that's what I interpreted from his speech. Okay, next let's welcome artist Ho Ning. Ho老师来，老师来，侯老师来。
5 minutes.
I'm sorry, I'm not never prepared for this. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I come here today is a little bit earlier. Xiaomi and I, my assistant, we went here about 10:30 already in nearby your gallery here. So, but I wanted to tell you, I'm very surprised. So beautiful, all those Chinese work. And even I'm a Chinese, but my whole life is all about Western art. So, and a lot of you already know my background, so I don't have to say it again. And today, my most impressive painting is the painting in the back. That Dongyuan, that's the painting. And that painting, if this is a drawing, probably the best drawing ever been done in the Western society. I can say that. You know why? Because Michelangelo, so far in the Western art, nobody can challenge him. Even Da Vinci cannot challenge him. Raphael or Titian, all the other artists, including Francis Bacon or Jackson Pollock, no one nearly as good as Michelangelo. And I think that painting, when Michelangelo to look at it, his tear will come down. How remarkable that painting is, Dongyuan. And I have to tell you why it's so good. You look, the whole painting is a giant diamond shape. Because for all Western art, for Sistine Chapel, most difficult thing is how can you use a triangle in the different arch, especially the inner side of the arch, not outside the contour of the arch. Inside looks like on the earth to look a galaxy. How can you make that balanced in multiple different subject and time all going to happen in one image? And that's the most important part. Today, my heart is really pumped because this is a painting I never saw before. It's so incredible. It was black-white. You know, everybody think Impressionist painting since the 19th century probably is the most discovery about color, complementary color. But for the structure part, I think China is 5,000 years ahead of Western. And I'm a Western painter. And even I live in China, and I came here, United States, when I was 26 years old as a foreign student. That time, you know, I studied in academy. But my major was abstract art. And I found out all the idea you can see in Dongyuan's work. And this is not just abstract composition for geometry shape, because the largest is the diamond shape, the whole painting. And that space is over 70% space being occupied by the ink outline for the contours. The rest is the negative spaces, only 30%. So he's really in philosophical way, and he really did the highest level I can say. And another thing is he also is a representational artist. He's not just abstract. Because while he's doing painting, he's intuitively, in his spirit, he wanted to connect with heaven. Like the earlier, the master Yu said about how to deny the importance of the subject, utilize of the galaxy space, which is called negative space, in order to make it a positive space, has a certain value and environment to see large or small relationship. But in that painting is representational. Why? Because for Chinese, everybody knows it's called the dragon. Dragon is the spirit of energy. In Western art, we did a lot of dragon images. Each period has a different kind of a dragon involved, but they make it looks like a real animal. A dragon is not animal for Chinese art because it's a spirit. So you look at the whole painting, on the earth part, with the mountain, high mountain, all the way go down to the bottom on the left of the painting was the mouth, the muzzle of a dragon. And then in the middle, the space almost as wide as the mountain. That was the body of the dragon. And then in the back, it all of a sudden become smoke, become like the mystery of the haziness in the distance. That's like a smoke. The smoke usually happen in the morning real early from 5 o'clock, maybe even 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Those 2 to 3 hours was in the valley smoke. So that somehow the artist incredibly to connect with the body of the dragon on the earth to the heaven. So this is the idea is like a dragon, like every year in Chinatown in Spring Festival, we have a dragon dancing, all right? So the same idea with a different curve. And I think inside it has 7 different triangles. If we lay down, you look at it, 7 different triangles to push the spinal of the curve of the snake. The snake is the king of a snake is a dragon, all right? So the dragon from the head is on the earth, and on the heavens, on the top of the paper, the rice paper, that's the tail. But another number 3 incredible thing is because this painting is dividing from this contour line, the contour structure for compositions, because the dark part is the pine tree, all right, all those trees. But in Western, it's called oak tree, but in China doesn't have many oak tree, but mostly it's the pine tree. So from the little pine tree, broken a few on the left, and all of a sudden in the middle has a very heavy ink, the darkest part of the painting, all the way to the sky. But they just exacted that S shape. Looks like a yin and a yang, that Chinese map, right? The dark part, the red part. So yin and yang and black, white. So dividing the universe is a half-half, all right? But this painting is not like any kind of half-half. But this line dividing the right side and left side, for my interpretation, I think the right side is northern China, and the left side is southern China. I think he has this guy, if he's still alive, he probably the king going to use him. Maybe he's a very, very high position for Chinese literature, cultural for like the high CEO in a company. He deserves that position. If China today has that kind of thing, I think nobody going to argue where the Chinese come from. That's all my comment about his painting. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Hall. Next, okay, we are very happy and honored to have Venerable拾得coming from Taiwan. She just landed last night. And so we'll have her solo exhibition of painting, calligraphy, and seal carving starting next Saturday. So let's welcome Venerable拾得. Would you say something? She has a very profound background in Chinese landscaping. Thank you.
今天很有因缘啊，到这里来听讲。听讲的结果呢，我收获很多啊。那我现在呢，跟大家分享一下，不管中西的艺术，都有留名青史的艺术，8大艺术嘛，都有洞察生命实相的本质。才能够留名青史。为什么呢？因为学习艺术呢有3个条件，一个呢是思古，就是以前的古人所走过的痕迹是我们要学习的，好像这个墙上的。第二个呢是造化，这个墙上的每一幅的山水都有透过艺术家洞察自然的实相，然后绕入自己的身心，把它表达出来，用笔墨纸砚表达出来。虽然这是东方艺术，西方艺术也是这样。譬如说，塞尚说，所有生命的这个物象，它都是由圆锥体所构成的，就是原始的物象。譬如树，譬如草，譬如鸟、动物、人等等，都是圆锥体。是什么意思？就是它有实相，它有体积的，有实相。这有体积有实相，就是有这个动，有这个动感，有这个生命力。物质或者我们的这个动物都是这样有生命力。所以说呢，不管中西艺术他们的本质都是有洞察到生命，才能够流传千古。如果呢，我们学佛的话呢，有一句话很重要，就是呢，像弘一大师最后说的：“君子之交，其淡如水，直向而求，咫尺千里。问于何事？阔而忘言。花枝春满，天心月圆。”这意思就是说，不管我们人与人之间、人与物之间、自己的身心之间，必须要君子之交。君子之交就是超越了对立，超越了善恶，超越了美丑，超越了大小分别。如果我们没有君子之交的话，就像咫尺千里，就离实相太远，就是变成像瞎子摸象瞎子呢摸这个大象，摸到这个瞎子摸那个象的鼻子，就认为说大象它的长相就像鼻子那样圆筒的，就摸到耳朵大象它的长相就像耳朵，就是片面。什么是片观全面呢？就是身体跟心，就物质跟精神，它是融合在一起的， 不管中西艺术都是这样子，所以比较没办法体会的是如何的片观，就是不可以片面，要去片观。这也是虽然我已经70岁了，还是在这个路上去学习。我的老师入一上人，他一生也是学习古人思古、思造化，然后思心，思自己的心，这样3合一就可以创造出很好的艺术。那下一档呢？是谢谢苏馆长啊，让我在这里呢展书画印3法印，就是3合一。为什么我那么爱好篆刻呢？很多人说篆刻是附属品，附属在书法、附属在国画上面的附属品。但是呢，我一辈子从17岁在复兴商工美工科高中开始，我就刻陶瓷，一辈子刻到现在为止，我还继续在刻。爱好这个篆刻是爱好它在刀与石之间的那个感受、那个触感、那个金石味、那个铿锵有声的感觉。这个感觉呢，跟浩瀚的山河大地是一样的，跟我们的身心互动是一样的。所以我刚刚说，君子之交是没有大小啊，没有是片观，没有片面的。虽然篆刻是一个小众，但是呢，他把它超越这个小石头之外，你会看到大世界，所以叫做芥子纳须弥。在菜芥子那么小的方块之间，我们可以将我们的身心融合在那里表达出来。这也是我一生所追求的，书画印、3法印融在一起。所以星期六我们在这里有个茶会展示这个我创作了那个50年的书画印。再说呢，张大千呢，我曾经亲近他，我是他的书童。然后那个时候，我也跟他一起买了很多用这个矿物质做的这个石青、石绿。有人在怀疑说，张大千用的颜色好像有很多是广告颜料。我说张大千时代还没有很好的广告颜料，而且张大千的这个颜料呢，都是花大钱去买的。他花大钱买这些颜料，到这个去敦煌壁画那里学习，还有他去黄山回来，他眼睛不好以后，他从泼墨上面去泼彩。如果是广告颜料的话，这个泼墨上面所泼彩的那个颜料呢，就没有可以流传这么久，而且也没办法那深入的这个宣纸里头层次那么多。如果胶质很重的广告颜料，它只是表面而已，也没办法流传这么久。这个是顺便跟大家报告，因为亲近张大千呢，我看他是很多的那个颜料是用这个石绿、石青的矿物质去真实去磨的，加上这个鹿角胶就把它调配起来，先泼墨色，然后再泼彩。从这个墨跟彩交融在一起，表达它眼睛还好的时候去所看的黄山的景色，这样泼出来的。所以呢，套一句这个毕卡索的一句话，他说呢，艺术没有所谓的创新，只有创作。那现在有很多写书法或者画西洋艺术或者中国艺术的人呢，他说他没办法，他就是想要创新，但是不知道怎么创新。毕卡索说，只有创作没有创新。如果你生长在毕卡索之前，你用脚踏车的这个那个龙头当这个牛的头然后再坐垫当牛的这个脚的身体的脸。那你就是毕卡索之前所创作，但是没有创新，因为那本来就是他的孩子骑的脚踏车，他只是把它转化一下。他有很多他孙子孩子的一些这个很多的 工具、玩具，它也变成雕塑作品。所以他说呢，旁通侧击啊，不是创新，只有创作。这我也奉行这样子的感觉，这样的感受，亲近大自然，亲近古人，亲近东西方的艺术，在书画篆刻上面尽情的去创作，而没有创新。谢谢大家。
谢谢。
谢谢法师，法师讲的太好了啊！法师时差还是很严重，但是出口成章。我们非常期待法师在9月27日在我们这边的讲座。20日就是下个星期六是开幕式，27日是这个星期六，对。我看见法师很激动啊，对，是这个星期六20日，是我们的开幕式，27日就是在下一个星期六是法师的讲座，所以我们也非常的期待。对，刚刚法师说的有一句话让我印象非常深刻，他说，我想可以这样翻译成英文哈，就是说，any enduring art, no matter Eastern or Western, which lives on in history. Arises in the deep inside of nature and human soul. That's my interpretation. 谢谢法师，对我们受益良多，谢谢。
翻译那3个条件当个艺术家。
3个就是知古study the tradition, okay, and study the nature. And study human soul.
这样的艺术就会留名千古。
Yes, 所以就 makes enduring arts, which lives on in history. Thank you. Mr. Nagin?
Yes, she made some comments which my Chinese is too poor to understand about Zhang Daxin. And I wonder if you could summarize it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Please, yeah, saber.
Hi, I'm so happy to hear my good friend拾得法师, Venerable拾得, talked. So Carl just asked a question about Zhang Daqian. So when Venerable拾得was young, she was the #1 student of her college class. And Zhang Daqian at that time just moved back from Carmel to Taiwan, to Taipei. And Zhang Daqian said to her professor, I want 2 female assistants. And so the professor picked one from Venerable拾得's class, the freshman class, and picked one, the top student from the sophomore class. So they got to be right next to Zhang Daqian and learn from him, and also help him grind the colors and prepare the ink and so on and so forth. And she has many more stories. I'm sure if you come on Saturday when her opening, she will tell you. Yeah, so she basically in her speech, I was very moved by what she said, like Xingru said, basically there is no difference in Eastern and Western art. Is if the artist has reached the true nature inside him or herself, then your art becomes very good and can pass on in history. Yeah. And I wanted to say, in response to your question earlier too, that this group of paintings is from Liaoning province, originally collected by the palace of the Qing dynasty, because that was their summer palace up there. And this group of paintings didn't go over to Taipei, luckily, and they stayed in China as one of the most amazing group of artworks from history, from ancient times to current times. And one more comment I have on this group of artworks is when I first came in, I thought these were real. And I was so shocked. I was like, how did Mr. Xu get all these paintings over here? because they look so real. And but it's just so wonderful that they make the museum reproductions of these treasures from this major museum. And my comment is that if you think in the past, because my background is in art history, if you think of medieval times in Europe, what the art was like at that time, and how Western art didn't really come out of medieval age until the 13th or 14th century, really the 14th century. But you look at this painting by Dong Yuan in the back, created in 900. And it's so natural, it's so naturalistic. And that is just like the background of Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, the background of it, right? But that wasn't created until the 15th century, 16th century, 15th, 16th century, yeah. So, but you also, if you look at one of these paintings with the dots that depict the landscapes, and the darker dots and the lighter dots to depict the light and shadow, that is just like Impressionist art. But they came a few hundred years before Impressionist art. So if you compare Eastern and Western art history, I think it's very interesting. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further clarification on your comments. So most of these works were actually already originally in the Liaoning province already. It's not the one that brought by Pu Yi to Liaoning after he was ousted from Beijing, out of Beijing. Is that right?
No. It's from most of them in 1912 when the Republic of China was built up.
Okay.
According to the agreement,
Okay.
Pu Yi and his family can live in the Forbidden City.
Yeah.
But his other family, for his younger brother,
Yes.
lived outside.
Okay.
So every day, his younger brother come to the school because they have a class. Yes, they have a class in the Forbidden City. They have a traditional Chinese teacher, classic teacher, and a Western teacher, Johnson. Yeah, famous Johnson. So Pu Jie come to the Forbidden City to have class every day, and Pu Yi give him some paintings every day.
Okay.
So he bring out of the Forbidden City to his family. So the total number in before 1924, when the Pu Yi was kicked off the Forbidden City, by Feng Yuxiang, I think, the gift Pu Jie received at least 105,000 pieces. So it's a huge collection taken out of China. So in 1925, when the Republic and Feng Yuxiang, double checked the Forbidden City, there has a list, means emperor's giving list. So there is a list. I have a book I can show you. Yes, there's a list. But most of them are album leaves and the hanging scrolls. Small hanging scrolls. So when all the painting have the emperor's seals, is from Forbidden City. Definitely. But others are museums collection of the 1950s. Some, but mostly are the imperial collections. Thank you.
So next Saturday is Venerable Shide's exhibition opening, and she'll be demonstrating seal carving, calligraphy, as well as splash painting, just like how Zhang Daqian would do it. But she does it her style, of course. 用中文翻译一下，下周六的拾得法师的展览开幕，拾得法师将会示范书法、画画、泼墨破彩，还有篆刻，所以欢迎大家到时候到临。
这周六跟下周六。
哦，对，是20号 就是这个周六，还有下一个周六，还有一场讲座在硅谷亚洲艺术中心，9月27号，所以2天 ，both days on September 20th as well as the 27th. Venerable Shida will be demonstrating painting, calligraphy, and seal carving. Both days, yes, yes.
What time?
2:30, starting from 2:30. So thank you very much for your comments. And next we'll have Mr. Carl Nagin, and he has a huge project he just finished, right? The biography of Zhang Daqian. He's an expert. Welcome. Let's welcome artist.
I can't, this is such a hard act to follow. I can't possibly even begin. It's just so moving to see this collection. Many years ago, I had the opportunity to work on a catalog of the Boston Museum of Fine Arts collection of Chinese painting. And I worked with a curator there from Taipei named Tom Wu, who had gotten his doctorate at Michigan, specialist in Shurtao. And while he was in Taipei, he wrote a lot about Zhang Daqian, and he really was my first teacher in understanding Chinese painting. He was a Taoist himself and a wonderful man, a wonderful teacher. And I got to study with him because his written English was not so strong. And I was hired by the museum to edit that catalog and help him write the general essay for American public that generally doesn't know all that much about Chinese painting, like myself at that time. So I got to see every individual piece, and they have an extraordinary collection. I mean, it's one of the best in the United States of early Chinese painting. It covers more than 1,000 years of Chinese art. Some of it came from Japan, actually, a lot of the Lohan paintings that they have, huge collection of Lohan paintings that came out of Japanese temples in the end of the 19th century, but also collected over the years. Zhang Daqian, 2 very famous forgeries that he did are in that museum, as well as some of his original work. And I had to look at every single painting with Wu Tong. And I'm saying all this because this collection is just stunning. It's just so moving to be able to see a Dong Yuan painting in the back that you so eloquently spoke about. I have nothing to add. He made me see this painting totally differently with this image of the dragon and his sense of the structure, and it made me think a lot about. In truth, there is no difference between Western and Chinese painting, as Zhang Daqian himself said many times. He said the true art at the highest level, it's just the different materials that people use, but not oil, ink, watercolor. But at the highest level, there is no difference because it is about the spirit. I have one slight difference about that of opinion, because I think that Western painting very early on became very interested in geometry and mathematics and the application of so-called scientific perspective. And even the way that Western paintings represent dragons. You know, in Western paintings, the dragon is slayed by Saint Michael. And that's this sort of very, what to call it, man dominates nature. Man is the measure of all things. You know, the famous Da Vinci squaring the circle, so to speak, painting. There is this tendency, and it had to do really with Renaissance art and the way that Renaissance art developed, and the use of mathematics and geometry. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. No, at the highest level, Michelangelo and Dong Yuan would have an interesting conversation, would they not? But there is that aspect of exactness, preciseness, and it also explains, in my understanding, my opinion,
why in the West there is more of a tendency to valorize, to make more important the individual, unique, original work of art. Whereas in China, you learn to paint by copying old masters. Everybody learns to paint by copying and mastering the tradition. Long history of imitation, paintings in the manner of, because you want to get the spirit of the ancients in your brush, right? But in the West, we have this mythology that Harold Rosenberg, art critic, said once, an artist is someone who invents an artist. Huh? Oh, so that puts the artist on this pedestal, this individual who is a lone genius, right? And it valorizes talent above tradition. There has to be something unique in the work, individual work of art. And I think that's a troublesome concept, because if you look at the life of Zhang Daqian in particular, if you think of the networks of artists, the collections that he looked at, his access to so many major collections like these. In fact, he had access to the imperial collections through Furu and others. And he learned to paint by respecting that tradition. And whereas you have with Picasso, when Picasso takes tradition, he's always subverting it. He's turning it inside out. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but he's taking classical art off its pedestal, Picasso, and he's turning it inside out and turning it into something else. He does that. He's like a troublemaker. Zhang Daqian was also a troublemaker too when he made forgeries, but that's another story. We won't go into that. He was playful about it. He was it was kind of art and play were very important for what he did. But in looking at this collection, I'm so moved by this. You go at the back and you see the Dongyuan, and then you look at this amazing Shutao painting. And I think the inscription of it, at the beginning of it, he says something about, to quote you again, you take heaven, you take the mountains, and you take the rivers, and you find heaven in a drop of water. It's something like that, this wonderful inscription on this. And I think that continuity of this long tradition is so impressive. That's what's so impressive about Chinese painting to me. It's thousands of years of continuity, perhaps because China was much more self-contained than Europe was. And that's a slight difference. We have both to learn from each other so much. And thank you for bringing this amazing collection. And yes, the quality of these reproductions, it's mind-boggling. I don't know what to say. Sorry.
More.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Okay, next let's welcome artist Jeremy Morgan. Professor Morgan, please.
Thank you. Tough to know where to begin. So many good points made today. A lot of them have made me rethink a lot of things I normally think about, which is the comparison of East and West. It's a matter of geography. We are divided by land, but we're united by air and water. In Chinese painting, when I first saw it, and these are obviously marvelous examples of many great works, what I became aware of early on as a landscape painter looking through that lens in Britain, where I was then studying at Oxford at the Westmoreland Museum in the Eastern Art section, looking at scroll painting from China, other works from Japan and India, I became very conscious of the fact, as I was studying my Renaissance, then the Chinese traditions, the point made about the early creations of landscape painting in Asia, in China in particular. And I became aware of the fact that looking at the Renaissance, having taught one summer at the Art Institute, which I taught at for many years, people from both Japan, China, and Iran, and looking at their work, I started thinking about in the era of the Renaissance, which Karen made a point earlier about, If you take a line down the middle of the Mediterranean and go to all points east of that line, from the Renaissance to the 20th century, all the art of those cultures is shadow-free. When you take a line to the west of that line, they're shadow-bound. Why was the West so fixated on bodies and time? I thought, why would this be? Well, we go back to the Greeks and Romans, the Egyptians, body centricity, human male bodies with the archetypal form, and the Western enterprise in art at the beginning of the Renaissance touches on an important moment that Panofsky speaks to, the idea of, in culture at that time, ousia, a Greek concept which is extremely complex, but for the sake of discussion, as a form of understanding of the realm of and the possibility of all that might be. With that, you have perspectiva, which means to see through. And then you have phenomena, which becomes appearance. So in his world, painting was born of a desire to see through an apparition that you experience. Then you concretize it through the act of making a painting. But in the Eastern traditions, and they're looking at the work of Persian artists, Chinese artists, up until the 20th century, few to no real shadows in the sense of the form that gives life to a shadow. That's a Western orientation. And I began to realize that the Chinese and Japanese and Korean, but the Chinese I was looking at mostly, were really involved with spirit. And the idea of the West was born of the notion of mimesis, making something look like that which what one saw. But Chinese painting was predicated on the invisibility of reality as well as its optical counterparts. So the paintings from China were like an iceberg in the sense that you see the iceberg, but your consciousness makes the reality become real. So these paintings are beautiful stimulations to and a catalyst for thought and experience. The other thing I learned from looking at Chinese painting is the idea of the white space. Now, these are obviously faithfully reproduced, and some were on silk and some were on paper. But at some point, they were much lighter than they appear to be now in most instances. And the light or the white is a critical part of Chinese painting. And in the West, as paintings evolved, again, going back to the medieval period, painting in the West made a division, or rather culture in the West made a division between language and pictorialism. As I look at these and realize the beautiful relationship between, I think it's the three, is it the three graces? Three perfections, yeah. Calligraphy, poetry, and painting. And I was talking to Carl earlier about the fact that when I first started looking at Chinese painting and Japanese, I thought this culture did not distinguish between writing and pictorialism. Calligraphy is the mainstay of this culture pictorially, and it's a lexicon both as an alphabet and as a mark-making mechanism for creating visuality. So the confluence or the co-joining of language, poetry, and writing, energy forms, and the energies of the landscape meet so perfectly in works such as these. The other thing with such a simple formula as ink, and in many cases one color or very reduced color, and certain types of brushes, it's a sheer range of marks that occur. And I know over the times, dynastic changes in terms of approaches to painting were occurring, but it's the individuality within the universal. But to the point made by our venerable speaker earlier, I believe that what we learn from great art is there are differences between East and West, but also huge commonalities. And those commonalities are that all visual artists are actually trying to give an account of what is invisible. And that's really its power. So I think it's never a competition, but how they differ becomes really interesting to think about. But where they meet, where Leonardo or Michelangelo and Chitao meet is in the idea of timelessness. And this is something which is so often forgotten in art. People are so concerned with the contemporary moment. And something about great art is it's the human experience which becomes an archive. It's an archive of consciousness in a communicable form. Art is a currency of communication. And the inner state of the artist is as important. And what he or she does with their eyes closed, as well as what they do when their eyes are open, is really where the art comes from. And I think what I love about these is Gerhard Richter, the German painter, looking at a Caspar Friedrich painting done some 200 years before, said the artist, I believe, has just left this place and I'm in the same place as him. And I thought that was a beautiful testament to the idea of timelessness and the continuity of experience which art allows us to have access to. So time becomes almost a fiction in the end. There's a sort of hyper state of awareness, which is a bigger consciousness, which I believe naturally the Chinese artists have often had an access to, because at the foundation In the West, we have a theocratic God. In China, you have an impersonal cosmic order in the form of the Tao. And those, for me, these paintings are all forms of spiritual resonance or connection, and are less interested in the idea of what one sees, but how one involves themselves in a relationship to a dynamic universe, as a dynamic person or being in a dynamic state. And these paintings become beautiful testaments because they become stilled moments within that continuous flow. And that's the magic of them. They leave just enough for us, and they put just enough in. And if we have eyes, heart, and mind to see it, we will have a connection. Thank you.
So 有没有
关于你还有什么comment吗？你讲两句。
你来讲两句吧。
俊辉，你们有什么意见？
Okay. Let's welcome Mr. Wang Guangyu. We just had his calligraphy exhibition. Yeah, before this.
Thank you. Really excited to have this exhibition here, and I happen to be in the gallery when curator Xu and his staff was displaying this work. So I really got a chance to look upon, check most of those pieces really up close on that day. So I'm really happy and excited for this opportunity to kind of showcase the audience or art lovers in Bay Area. I was hoping that this maybe I was talking with the curator Xu that maybe this kind of form, it's really innovative form that can be even move out of this area to other areas of the States, hopefully. And hopefully Liaoning Museum, if can support this kind of initiative, that would be really great. And so I'm already kind of excited and looking forward to the other sequels of this one, because this is the first of the mountain and the landscape painting, right? And we also have like a bird and the flowers, and also figures and also the one, of course, the most excited I'm looking forward is the choreography part, right? as a choreographer. And so I know that the Liaoning Museum has some wonderful collections of choreography, Chinese choreography piece as well. And like Wan Sui Tong Tian Tie, which is several classics that was compiled together and by Wang Shi's family and his family members, most of them, and it was reproduced during Tang Dynasty and under Wu Zetian's time. So that was actually the product of the Tang Dynasty was actually collected at the Liaoning Museum. So if I ever got a chance to able to watch those like up close in a setting like this, will be really kind of lucky. And of course I think they also have the other 4 poems, presumably written by Zhang Xu, the master choreographer back in Tang Dynasty, right? It's a scriptive style. So hopefully that if they ever get a chance that we're able to bring those pieces to here, let us to watch up close, that will be really awesome. And again, very excited about, appreciated all the generosity of the Liaoning Museum. And actually this kind of form was getting more and more popular, at least in China, because I know that my alma mater, the Zhejiang University, they have built a museum, also put a lot of this kind of a one-to-one kind of reprint of the original artwork. So it become a very wonderful and valuable education tool for fine arts and art history. And now these days, even for some of the AI major students, for them to look up, to do the process, the image, whatever those ones. So that is become hopefully that now Silicon Valley Art Center was also kind of participate in this kind of innovative kind of art display. It's really awesome. And that's about the exhibition, but I also want to touch upon some of the professors, Professor Yu, Professor Ho, and talk about the choreography and the connection between choreography and paintings. And I was writing an essay about one of the choreographer just passed away a few weeks ago, Wo Xinhua. He was a very respected by some kind of community, but also some kind of controversial choreographer back in China these days. He's one of the He's very sophisticated and very high achieved in those kind of traditional Chinese skills and techniques. Very high achieved one, but also he was one of the pioneers who tried to bring in many of those kind of Western kind of painting elements into Chinese choreography. So that caused lots of debate and controversial around his. He passed away a few weeks ago, and a lot of social media discussion around him. I'm also trying to write an essay about from my own perspective. One of the things that he was trying to bring into some of the configuration, like some of the design element into choreography, and that sometimes goes. We know that when we are writing Chinese choreography, one of the key elements is spontaneous. You not necessarily every piece is well designed, or you thought out all the every details. You just, when you pick up the phone, the brush and pen, and you start to write, it's that depend on what kind of happened at that moment. So that has to me, it's more kind of that spontaneous that at that moment actually make you more closer to your heart, more closer to your soul, because you were at that moment, you were not thinking about anything else. You were not thinking about any other element of design, whatever. So that piece, I was hoping that it's more closer to your heart, more closer to your soul, actually was more true reflection of your spirit, human spirit. So that is something probably will be kept as a core element of the Chinese choreography. And Professor Wo Xinhua, to a certain degree, when he bring more those kind of a design element to it, so that's what caused some of the kind of a debate and a controversial. So that's something, it's still a dynamic field, even these days, because you have a technology, you have a Western and the Eastern elements, different kind of perspective mixing together, so make it very dynamic. But again, given that Professor all the ones to talk about because Professor Honing was very keen about bringing some of the Chinese choreography stroke into his painting skills, right, painting techniques. So that's I know that we talk quite a bit about that. So that's something kind of my perspective on those topics I want to share. So thank you so much. Thank you again for the curious to and the staff for bringing this wonderful exhibition and to this audience community. Thank you.
Renee, here, any comments?
Wow. It's unbelievable. We haven't got the menu yet, and Guangyu has started ordering already. 我们还没拿到菜单，我们还没拿到辽博的菜单，他已经开始点菜了。万岁通天帖，一定要写上，我 mark that. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for coming, and thank you the audience online. OK.
谢谢。那个我呢，过2天我也要去辽博了，我21号去辽博，因为我们那里又有个新的展览。所以我要带着广宇的那个是菜单，我要去点了，因为他现在国家的这个文物有非常严格的规定，宋代和宋代以前的作品4年只能公开，最多公开展览2个礼拜，公开展2个礼拜，那个私人看不能超过2个小时，总共招不能的，所以你私人看5分钟就卷起来了。So according to the regulation in China, the paintings and the choreographs of Song or before Song dynasty can publicly exhibited maximally 2 weeks in 4 years, and for the private, in the private show totally 2 hours in 4 years. So when we come to the VVIP room, 5 minutes. Okay. So, we have thanks for a lot the late master He Beiren. Yeah, he helped us to build up a very strong relationship with our art center and his hometown museum. Yeah, museum. So we hope next year, we have another landscape show in this Chinese coming spring New Year time. Yeah. 所以我们春节期间还会有一次展览，有一些山水的手卷，还有一些重要的作品，比如说，in 1970s, one archaeologist discovered in a tomb of Liao Dynasty in Liaoning, discovered 2 landscape paintings. Yeah, very well conditions. Yeah, very well conditioned, very large. Yeah. So in general, when this one was discovered in the Liao Dynasty tomb, it should be Liao Dynasty. Yeah, it's the same year around I think Northern Song. Yeah, Dynasty. But if the Liao Emperor had a good taste for antiquity, it may be Tang Dynasty. Yeah, or 5 dynasties. Yeah, so next time we will exhibit the other 2 legendary paintings. Yeah, very interesting paintings. Yeah.
Are they signed?
No sign. No sign. One landscape, one flower paintings. Yeah, one bird and flower paintings. Yeah, very important one. Yeah. So yesterday we here have another lecture. Yeah, we invited a famous historical photography of Sino-American collector, a young engineer, born in 1990, Mr. Zhou Dehuai from Beijing. So I talked with him and show him this case. His lecture is about the Sino-Japanese War and the Second World War. So he will publish a book named 河山寨, 山河寨. Yeah, his book. Yeah, I said your book, the title is very important and very interesting. It's from Tu Fu's famous poem. When the country is broken, the mountain and the river is still here. Yeah, 国破山河在. So in Chinese language, 山河 always means territorial. The nationalities and the defendings. But the 山水 in English means the 山水. Yeah, it's a different meaning. Yeah, 山水 means very charming, very absorbing. Yeah, it's a beauty. It looks like in home. You can give up a lot of things, including your nationalities. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, so interesting. So I introduce a lot of friends and scholars. When you written essays or books in English, I suggest that you use the pinyin 山水 instead of landscape. Because landscape always mean 风景画, scenery painting. But the 山水 painting is much more things than the scenery. Yeah. So we joined with Liaoning province to do the exhibition show. Yeah, with the high quality reproductions. Yeah, we maybe have attracted more and more audience. Yeah, and to see the exhibition. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
好，那我们今天的座谈会就到此为止，谢谢大家，谢谢大家，谢谢线上的观众。
大家有问题请问老师，为什么那个画在画龙啊？